Here's what's coming up on your horizon. Well, it's widely recognized that early childhood education can influence a lifetime of success. Today, we begin by examining the impact child care can have from cradle to career.
So it's absolutely about economics, and it's particularly about reducing spending burdens on taxpayers.
We look at how the texting and driving debate at the state capitol has the attention of a growing group of young people.
We are here to save Oklahoma from huge expenses related to injury, disability, and death due to 100% preventable car crashes.
Oklahoma FCCLA was devastated this past year when we found out that Heather Hickman was killed in a car crash due to someone texting and driving.
And we end our day with the Oklahoma artist whose artwork is not just found in art galleries.
When spray paint first came out, it was not intended to go paint on trains in New York, but it was, and it evolved.
Stay with us for Oklahoma Horizon.
Oklahoma Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education.
Oklahoma's investment in career tech provides more than nationally recognized technology education and training. It produces solid financial returns for the state's economic future. Oklahoma Career Tech, elevating our economy.
And the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping good people grow good things. And now, from the Career Tech Studios in Stillwater, here's your host, Rob McClendon.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on Horizon. Well, when it comes to early childhood education, Oklahoma leads the nation. Every 4-year-old in the Sooner State currently has free access to a year of high-quality pre-kindergarten. In 2013, President Obama challenged the nation to drastically improve our country's early childhood development programs. Yet Oklahoma already had it mastered. Joining me now is our Andy Barth.
Well, Rob, what started as a pilot program in 1980 was passed into law in 1998. The goal? To break the cycle of poverty. In addition to a free 4-year-old program, some families receive home visits to coach parents on reading and talking more to their children, all in hopes to make a better Oklahoma. It's an everyday scenario. Children learning in school. Yet what about brain development before they walk into a classroom?
One thing that's common among all families and all parents is that parents want the best for their children. And that doesn't matter what circumstance the family is in. Parents really want what's best for their kids. We do find
Rob Grunwald is an economist with the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis and says an early start prepares a child for their future.
When children are in childcare, let's say if they are going to, let's say, Oklahoma's 4-year preschool program before they go on to kindergarten, they're at a time in life in which there's opportunity for a great amount of change and learning, especially in the child's brain. And it really sets the tone for their school readiness.
And business owner Chuck Mills says learning must start at home because those first years are crucial for development.
Early childhood was important because that's really where the base of knowledge begins. I mean, 85% of the brain is developed in the first 3 years of life.
Yet Grunwald says parents are often unable to provide that foundation because of work.
So many of parents in our workforce are at work that many children are in child care settings. And so if those child care settings are providing an environment to help children learn more about early vocabulary and early problem solving, that's going to help them.
And for the Boeing company Steve Hendrickson, the right early education is crucial to fill a growing job demand down the road.
Very simply put, we have many more openings in our economy in the state of Oklahoma in the next 10 years than we have people to fill them. It's that simple.
Which is why Mills says employers must support their workers, who are parents.
We as employers, should be able to help our employees understand the importance of them working with their children, preparing them for an education, preparing them for school.
And Hendrickson says the parent's job doesn't have to be hard.
Simple things like reading stories, and we find that a live person reading to a child sitting in a lap just goes light years to keeping a lot of those synapses connected that will typically prune themselves when you get to be a teenager. And we find that a lot of the children that have an active parenting style like that do really, really well.
And Grunwald says children will learn no matter the situation.
Development is happening no matter where it is. And if that development is happening with adults, with their parents and other teachers and so on, interacting together, that's how that rich brain development forms.
Well, now, unfortunately, research suggests that high-poverty parents don't always attach to their children. Studies show that a child of professionals hears 30 million more words by the age of 4 than a child on welfare.
Now, Andy, education can be very much debated down at the state capitol. Is this a partisan issue?
Well, Rob, Oklahoma is one of the reddest states in the union, but lawmakers, both Democratic and Republican alike, feel that this is an economic and a social issue and that our youth must be invested in for the future.
Well, it sounds like certainly an important program and a nice piece. Thanks, Andy.
You're welcome, Rob.
Now, a little later in our show, we'll look at the issue of texting and driving from a very personal level. But when we return, we continue our focus on Cradle to Career.
You're watching Oklahoma Horizon, featuring some of the good things that are happening in the great state of Oklahoma.
Well, our guest today says the educational outcomes of early childhood education equals hard dollars across our economy. Robert Duggar is a venture capitalist who has turned his attention to education and says the cost benefits show that early childhood education helps students get higher grades in school, contribute more in taxes, while also making them less likely to need welfare or head to prison. Our Andy Barth sat down with Robert Duggar at the 2014 Business Summit in Oklahoma City.
Well, Dr. Duggar, we often talk about childhood education from a social aspect, but it's also an economic issue, is it not?
Oh, there's no question about it, and it's about taxpayers. Because right now, we are paying more for special education and more for infant health costs than we need to. We know that longer term, better school readiness, improved 3rd and 4th grade reading scores, higher high school graduation rates, improved college attendance, improved job acquisition and performance, higher income levels, all of that shows that anywhere from 10 to 15% return from quality pre-kindergarten. Now we know that on the basis of specific financial transactions, not only is that long-term, those long-term numbers right, but we now know why. It's because the impact when kids are very young reduces special education assignment, improves their school readiness, and prenatal counseling improves infant health and the ability of mothers to be better mothers. So it's absolutely about economics, and it's particularly about reducing spending burdens on taxpayers.
So how early do we start with our kids?
What we know is that Oklahoma is an oil state. What we know about oil drilling is what you do at the very beginning matters more than anything else that happens afterwards. If you put the X on the right place in the ground, that's extremely important. Then you've got to aim the drill. If it's 2 degrees off, 3 degrees off, left or right, north or south, it'll miss. And once you begin to drill it, then if you find you've made a mistake, the cost of fixing the mistake is vastly more expensive than the cost of just doing it right in the beginning. So raising a young adult to be a productive member of the workforce is much like any of these production processes. If you do it right in the beginning, it saves enormous costs later on. So what we're learning over the last 15 years or so is that what happens prenatally, what happens in the first 5 years of life, matter more than anything else. You can increase kindergarten readiness by investing in kids prenatal to 5. It's really simple.
And so the misconception that teachers are responsible for getting our kids ready isn't all true. The parents play a vital role.
Oh, absolutely. The parents play a vital role. But look at this. If you have a state which is encouraging mothers and fathers to work, basically organizing the economic system so that mothers and fathers almost have to work in order to make a living. And that state does not at the same time provide for adequate child care. What's it doing? It's crippling itself. It's crippling itself. And what we know is that a state like Oklahoma or my home state of Virginia actually cannot compete unless women are getting educated and participating in the workforce productively also. So women and men both need to be educated and work effectively in order for the state to be competitive. So in order for that to happen, we've got to really invest in the ability of these young parents to be parents while they're both working.
Well, Dr. Duggar, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Andy. It's great to be here.
Well, there are daycares and then there are child care centers. The difference? One can take care of a child and the other works on child development and readies children for elementary school. And our Lisa Hines visited a classroom where they're training those teachers.
That. Is that a light? What color is that? Red.
Young children are naturally curious.
See yourself?
Peekaboo.
Where did you go?
And quick to learn.
You touched the peacock?
Savanna DeRosa is a senior at Canadian Valley Tech Center and says she loves working with children.
All day.
Just getting to interact with the children and knowing how they work, because if you just read a book, it kind of doesn't tell you. It's a lot different than going into a classroom. So if you go into a classroom, then you actually get to experience firsthand.
Bambi Slimp is the director of the Child Development Center at Canadian Valley and says students like Savanna have a passion for young children.
And a lot of times they haven't had that hands-on experience to learn what a quality teacher should do and what you can do in the classroom that's correct and positive guidance and how to follow licensing standards. So this program provides them that opportunity to be able to go out in the field and know what to expect in a classroom and know how to handle a group of children and know how to provide quality care with lesson plans and intentional activities.
Hooray!
According to child development instructor Debbie White, teaching small children can establish a foundation for a lifetime of learning.
The first 3 years of life are the times that children develop their trust, their social emotional development, their cognitive development, and their physical development are all developing at a great rate of speed during those years. It's a basis for all learning.
And for early child care education students like Kaylee Kramer, the hands-on learning at Canadian Valley really helps.
It has really been a joy to work with Miss White, our teacher. She is a very good teacher, and she makes sure that we know all that we need to know about children. And then what's even more neat is that we have a daycare where we can apply that knowledge.
Jordan Trujillo grew up in a daycare, so working with kids just comes naturally to him.
My mom had an at-home daycare, and I've grown up around nieces and nephews and a little brother, so I've just always had a connection to kids, so I just thought that this would be a perfect class for me.
And Bailey Lyons thinks so too.
I wanted to take this program mostly because I adore children. I have a nephew that just kind of inspired me to want to work with kids. So because of him, I want to work with kids forever now. My experience with this daycare has been amazing because I've been able to work in small classes and be able to interact with all of the kids and just kind of realize that every kid is different. But once you learn in a small setting, you're able to move to a bigger setting and know how to handle it.
Which is the whole point of the program, preparing students for their role in the daycare industry.
A lot of times people think that because they have children at home, they can go take care of a group of children, but it's different in a child care center because you're responsible for their education and preparing them for public school when they're ready for kindergarten. So to take this program and to learn about that and learn about development and to be able to understand where children should be at a specific age helps them be a quality child care provider.
An education giving students like Bailey an early jump on her career.
I think it's amazing that I've had the opportunity to be able to get this opportunity so early in life that once I go to college and get out of college, I will know what to do and be prepared to be able to really work anywhere.
Young students teaching our youngest generation.
Where are they?
As they both start out in life.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about the original research into the critical nature of early childhood education, I do have a couple of videos streaming on our website, and you can find them under this week's Value Added section.
Still to come on Oklahoma Horizon, a drive-by art show. But first, texting and driving.
Well, all but 6 states have laws directly banning texting while driving, Oklahoma being one of the exceptions. But work is underway at the Capitol to change that.
We can pursue common sense solutions like
From the governor's State of the State address,
and also banning practices like texting while driving, which kills Oklahomans, many of them teenagers, every year.
to legislation in both chambers, lawmakers seem poised to crack down on a practice all agree is inherently dangerous.
It makes a driver 23 times more likely to be involved in an accident than they ordinarily would.
Representative Terry O'Donnell is author of the bill that he says will differentiate texting from current distracted driver laws.
The law as it is now doesn't distinguish between eating a sandwich or interacting with a pet and texting and driving. Texting and driving is not like turning up the radio. It involves your mental faculties, your physical faculties in manipulating the phone, and your visual faculties taking your attention away from the road. That's what makes it such a great distraction, and that's the education component that I think is going to carry the day in this legislative session.
And O'Donnell's bill did pass out of committee by a unanimous margin. Also at the state capitol, team members of the student organization Generation Text held a news conference to urge lawmakers to change Oklahoma's texting laws.
We are here to save Oklahoma from huge expenses related to injury, disability, and death due to 100% preventable car crashes.
Now, according to members of Generation Text, distracted driving is the #1 killer of American teens.
Oklahoma needs to join the other 44.
A fact that one student organization knows painfully well. Joining me now is our Courtney Maye.
Like many student organizations, the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, known as FCCLA, passed their officers' jackets down from one generation to the next. And inside the pocket of one jacket, a reminder of the tragic cost of texting and driving.
Do you want me to read a few?
A note from an advisor about a life cut short. An accident that was 100% preventable. A text message that could have waited. Yet an innocent 18-year-old's life is gone.
Oklahoma FCCLA was devastated this past year when we found out that Heather Hickman was killed in a car crash due to someone texting and driving.
From Dibble High School is Heather Hickman.
Heather served as the state vice president of star events for Oklahoma FCCLA, and the organization's tradition of passing down blazers has never meant more. Gabriella wears Heather's former blazer with pride.
I just happened to get Heather Hickman's blazer.
Gabriella Catrazula is the Oklahoma FCCLA State Vice President of Development.
As soon as you met her, she touched your heart in like so many ways, and oh God, I'm gonna start crying now. I actually didn't know Heather as well as I would have liked to, but I met her this past summer when I was just a little dot camper, and she was like one of the first people to say, "Hi, what is your name? How are you?"
In an effort to save lives like Heather's, Oklahoma FCCLA is starting a safe driving campaign.
This year we began what we call the Oklahoma Challenge, and our goal is to reduce distracted driving and promote traffic safety.
A goal leading Gabriella to the state capitol, where new safe driving legislation, if implemented, would add specifics to the vague distracted driving law now in place. Senator Ron Sharp.
People are losing their lives. There's tremendous financial problems with auto accidents. You don't want to be driving down I-40 and you come to a complete stop and you're praying to God that the person behind you is not texting or emailing or talking on their telephone.
To reduce
promoting safe driving while wearing a meaningful blazer and carrying a letter filled with encouragement from Heather's advisor.
Okay. I'm so proud that Oklahoma FCCLA has had the confidence to elect you. Even though I do not know who you are, please know that I'm praying for you and sending you the same happy thoughts I did to my sweet Heather.
An organization that will always remember, a life that will never be forgotten, a legacy that will live on.
Throughout the month of February, members of FCCLA held texting and driving workshops in honor of Heather.
All right, thank you so much, Courtney.
You're welcome, Rob.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about this issue, we have links to an award-winning student-produced video on texting and driving, as well as some of the committee testimony, along with some links to the teen-led movement of Generation Text, all on our website at okhorizon.com.
Want to share something you've seen here today? Well, all of our episodes are streaming on our YouTube channel at Oklahoma Horizon TV, or you can subscribe to our weekly free podcasts on iTunes.
Well, some of the most influential art from the last 40 years doesn't hang in galleries. Austin Moore introduces us to an Oklahoma artist whose canvas is often in some unlikely places.
Off Clawson Boulevard, near downtown Oklahoma City, Yadika Fields works alone, taking his time finding the path of this mural.
I'm a compositionalist and colorist, and I can kind of paint whatever, but when it comes to the wall, you kind of got to observe that and then kind of figure out what you're going to paint, what's going to fit best in this spot. Now, since this is an elongated wall and not too high, it's good to have, you know, kind of smaller things kind of going sideways and jetting down in motion, almost like a tumbleweed or something. I guess you could really have a set mock-up and execute it, but I think the joy and fun of a mural is kind of being with it and letting it evolve.
Evolution is at the heart of this project. It starts with a young man from Stillwater, Oklahoma, growing himself as an artist while traveling the globe.
I just got back from Portland and I was doing a mural there, and that was huge. It was probably as long as this, but it was about 40 feet high, and I had a 40-foot lift, so I was on it. But it's the rain season in Portland, so I was, that was pretty challenging.
The building here has evolved too. This half belongs to a bail bondsman, but the other half has been transformed from a very traditional office into something more.
1219 Creative is a creative, collaborative, co-work space. We have large offices, small offices, co-work desk, which are low cost and low commitment, and a communal work area and conference room, plus an art gallery, because we like to keep things creative.
And the art form itself of combining spray paint and blank walls has evolved from a misdemeanor crime to a point of respectability that even the most traditional of businessmen can find value in.
Normally you wouldn't think of the bail bonds owner as the guy who wants to do public art. But actually, J.B. Askins, who owns Abraham's Bail Bonds, said, I've got this huge wall out here and I'm seeing murals go up around town, and I would like for someone to come do a mural here on this wall. And of course, the artist here in the facility, we thought, man, that's a beautiful idea. It's fantastic. Something that would be good for the building, good for the area, good for the neighborhood, and continue on that general idea that we have in Oklahoma City right now about making things great and doing great things and really having pride in where we live and work.
Spray paint's come a long way, especially since graffiti, and marketing it directly to artists, you know. I mean, when spray paint first came out, it was not intended to go paint on trains in New York, you know, but it was, and it evolved.
And there's that word again, evolved. The art form, the canvas, and the artist have all taken journeys, growing and changing. That theme of personal movement is at the heart of this piece of public art. Something that can serve as a reflection for a city undergoing its own evolution.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about Yadika Fields and his art, we have some very interesting time lapses of him working on our website at okhorizon.com. Next time on Oklahoma Horizon, merging rural Oklahoma onto the broadband fast lane.
People are so excited about it. They're wanting their neighbors to sign up. They're wanting their friends, and they're talking about it everywhere. So it's been a great community support.
Plus, we'll tell you whether Oklahoma is a maker or a taker state on Oklahoma Show for the Heartland, Oklahoma Horizon. Well, that is going to wrap us up for today, but you can see more of any of our stories on our website at okhorizon.com. You can listen to us on the go with our weekly podcast on iTunes. Follow us throughout the week on Twitter at OKHorizonTV, or just become a Horizon fan on Facebook. I'm Rob McClendon. Thanks for including us in your day. See you back here next week.
Thank you for watching Oklahoma Horizon.